This is quantum physics as defined by the current textbooks on quantum physics with some adjustments made to attempt to create a homogeneous explanation that's compatible with with explanation of quantum physics up to approximately 2006. The problem was about starting 2006, for some reason they started basically putting in BS, such as quantum physics proves we don't exist. I'm not going to put that in there because, I'm not going to enter the insane. Basically, this explanation is going to be one that is possible to reality. Well, it's possible to reality. That doesn't involve basically merging, reality and Disney cartoons into both of them being reality. Because, of course, that's so dangerous and unreal for understanding, especially with a child. I will summarize the current research, mostly I did by myself, unfortunately, regarding something which I term matter magnets, which is an attempt to actually apply, Darwinish Newton to reality, please. Of course, it starts with Einstein. This starts with the explanation that they make the assumption that matter is made of units known as molecules. These molecules are made of atoms, and this is an attempt to define the interaction of matter. Basically answer questions like this. Why does a cow eat green grass and put out white milk? What causes it to change from green to white? Is basically the type of question he's trying to answer. He's also trying to answer the myriad of varied questions, such as why does ugly looking ore turn into a beautiful diamond? Because simply cutting it does not define that. Because here's the thing, something shouldn't change appearance, so you're a matter of cutting. And therefore, quantum physics attempts to bring light into the explanations. I will say again, the simple matter of cutting, for example, okay, if I take a scissors, I cut a piece of paper in half, the paper doesn't start to sparkle just because I cut it in half. Paper does not sparkle because I cut it in half. However, there are certain materials that seem to have this property. Anyway, quantum physics attempts to give explanations for that. There actually is an explanation of quantum physics that starts to explain this. And that will be suggested at the end of this disclosure. If it fits in the 15 minutes, I have a feeling that only the Hyper Einstein will. It is very likely that the reason for the existence of Hyper Einstein is for whatever a reason to be unwilling to disagree with Einstein. You have a problem there because I will first disprove E equals mc squared. This is attempting to say that the amount of energy that's possible as a result of a nuclear reaction is calculatable by taking the mass of that. By the way, it'll include units, so that's immediate crap, right? So you can stop there. Because speed of light is not a mass units, and therefore it's obvious with just that much that that's nonsense. Because Einstein says one thing that makes no sense. Also, the idea that a human can understand relativity. What is relativity? Relativity is this idea. Relativity is actually a logical question and requires first philosophy to answer it. Because we're going to run a problem because no one understands what relativity is, because it turns out that Einstein gave the name relativity to what is properly called a dare. Most likely somebody probably just gave him a dare and not being certain what to do as a young student. He's let's call it relativity. Not that I heard he worked in the post office, huh? Yeah, whether there's over a bag of undelivered mail, very possible. Uh-oh. See, Einstein's relativity attempts to say that as one moves faster, reality changes because the local clock, your mental clock, slows down relative to the universe clock. Ami said, stop there. Because if I give actual scientific bias to Einstein, there's going to be a problem from hell. So Ami ordered me to stop there. So the only thing I can say about Einstein is that Einstein tried to say that when you walk down the street, your mental clock is necessarily different from the clock in the Big Ben, simply by virtue of the fact that you're moving and Big Ben somehow isn't. Of course, that makes no sense at all. Einstein actually breaks down right there. The following, of course, is fantasy, and therefore must be us reading storybook terms. Seriously. Einstein tries to say that that basically we're made of tiny, tiny little fairies. That's basically what Einstein tries to say. Here's the thing. That has some validity to it because the action of aqua electrons seems to be kind of fairy-like. And really, this seems to be like it being a crapper to try to deal with the fact that, yeah, some of the explanations here are better expressed using things like cute little girls. Because these little structures, especially stuff like amoeba, actually have some intelligence. See, you run into a problem because animals such as amoeba are intelligent, yet they're tiny, tiny, tiny. That's definitely true of things like plankton. Frankly, it's arguably true of things like ants, which of course are visible. So you have another problem here, and this may be attempting to give humanness to the action of ants because there's no other good explanation. Of course, they don't want to go there because the application of this, which actually, unfortunately, is reality, is that an ant is actually pretty intelligent. And it's easier to understand ant colonies if you allow the imagination to replace ants with little Pokemon. Now you can understand why scientists might have a problem there. Ant colonies are easier understood if you replace ants with things like Pokemon, which is possibly why those things exist, to offer methods of explanation. If ants are Pokemon, then it relates to something that is more relatable. Why? It allows explanation of fantasy to approximate reality, which may be what Einstein was trying to do. Of course, got it all wrong because he just didn't know how to do it. Anyway, the Einstein explanation of reality tries to say, to be honest about it, that all matter is made of communities of fairies. Basically trying to say that these microscopic little fairies, and Ami again said, stop there permanently. I must now not say another word about Einstein because the thing is, this explanation is actually tangible to reality. And she basically says we don't want a reality where everybody is fairies. Because unfortunately, the Einstein explanation actually works to reality, but I'm not the one who runs that method. Okay, book 2, actual reality. See, this starts with things like this. If you take your thumb and push it against a painted wall, those who have very sensitive thumb pads, and if you slowly remove your thumb, you notice that it sticks to the wall a little bit. Why is this? It comes down to this. It's because your thumb has mostly negative magnets in it. And the paint on the wall has mostly negative magnets in it. Because like magnets attract, a little bit of sticky. Why does that stick hard? It's because there's a great deal of positive magnets in both the thumb and the wall. Because trust me, if you have only negative magnets, then of course it's a highly, highly, highly dangerous, exotic space material, which one wants to deal with. That comes down to stuff like neutron stars, of course. So now you have a situation where the grid structure of some materials is explainable by this arrangement of positive and negative magnets. Of course, I need to find the magnet at this point. Reality tends to make sense, and by the way, this is a working explanation, which of course requires more scientific testing than anybody can do on themselves, which of course is why, the community is very grudgingly trying to enter this. Seriously. Of course, they're having more look in places like Europe, where they don't have so much of the nonsense. This explanation of reality basically says that all matter is basically BBs. It stops at BBs. It basically allows the BBs. However, there's another thing added to this to allow things like light and heat to exist. Because while those BBs exist, they are not tangible, meaning you can't touch them. However, electromagnetic scanners can detect them. Now things like radio become possible. For example, one thing that one reasoning here is the reason why radio works is because we're just simply inside the huge radio BB, which changes as AT&T or radio stations decide to do broadcasts. Then it basically says the nature of this big old radio BB, which of course is huge because it existed. Yeah, now you can get radio inside a building. Why? The radio BB just exists, and all this is probably run by some sort of cosmic computer, which allows all this to make sense. Of course, we start talking about cosmic computers. Yeah, any explanation makes sense. Actually, it is valid if you believe science. Frankly, it's valid if you believe quantum physics. Of course, Newton is a different computation that reaches the same result. Newton is a different computation that reaches the same result. And if things want to be fanciful, you can say accurately the universe computer changes so that humans can understand reality. Which means that ultimately, what's the universe computer? It's a supercomputer interfaces with the brain's computer. So then, what is actual reality? Actual reality is your brain computer interfacing with the God computer. As uncomfortable with the thing is, if that's uncomfortable, you don't have to accept that. Because there are many flavors of reality. Yeah, they're called people interested in different things. Thank you. Anyway, the matter mag's explanation was attempts to create a Newton-Einstein to matter. I'm going to just explain like in 2 sentences. Please stop here, please. 1. Everything is made of spherical areas, which I call magnets. 2. These magnets are defined by XYZ position and the sign value indicating magneticity.